In this video, we're going to review some of the new features that have come out in EPICS in this past year. Looking at the wish list that was processed at the last user conference, some of the highlighted features that we have implemented are, first of all, wish list number 1, and that is when reducing the quantity at production, ask before putting pieces back on a rack that no longer contains pieces for that SO item or lot. So in this example, we had a rack that was processed out of the paint department. We had rack 287 and it went out on rack 289 with 200 pieces. If for some reason in the next department you needed to change the quantity on the rack that was there, either if it was a miscount or all the pieces weren't added to it, you can reduce that quantity. And if you have the config setting G require rack for production set to yes, then EPICS will prompt you to ask you if the material that you've reduced on the quantity should be put back into the original rack because it no longer existed. So if you answer yes, then EPICS will put the material back on the rack. And if you answer no, then the material may have been a miscount and will not exist on the previous rack that was there. So here you can see that we now have rack 287 again for 50 pieces because we answered yes to put the material back on the previous rack. Wish list number 2 adds a column to the die copy selection pop-up when calculating a work order to show whether the die copy is scheduled for another item. So on the calculate and print work order screen, when you have the pop-up to select a die copy, you'll now see a column to tell you if the die copy is already in use. And another additional feature that was added, not as a wish list item, but you'll now have a column to see what die sizes are available. So that'll help you select your die copy better and give you more information when selecting them. Wish list number 3 works with the config setting gPreventProd TimeOverlap. So if that is set to yes, previously you only saw a warning that told you if a production posting overlapped with another posting. And now you'll see a message telling you exactly which production posting on the shift and date and time your record is overlapping so that you can easily find the record and correct them. We had wish list number 4, and that adds CertCode TensileCheck to allow a CertCode and tensile test to be performed at the time of packing, shipping, or both. And previously, you only were stopped when making a packing ticket based on your CertCode settings, and now you can be stopped at shipping or both. And more about that will be discussed later in another presentation. Wish list number 5 adds a new lookup table, ticket void code, and that allows you to store a reason code which can be used when tickets are voided. Wish list number 9, add the view tensile tests option to the right-click menu for the sales order item. Wish list number 10, when packing from a rack, ask the packing user whether a rack should be cleared if the remaining pieces falls below a configured tolerance enabled with the new config setting G empty rack threshold. In this example, I had G empty rack threshold set to 5 pieces, and I'm packing my rack 177, which had 40 pieces on it. So I'm making a packing ticket for 35 pieces, and I'll now be prompted to answer yes or no, asking if I have removed all of the pieces from the rack. So if I answer yes, this was all of the pieces, which could have been a miscount, EPICS will clear that rack, and I can also answer no because I do have the additional 5 pieces on the rack, and EPICS will leave the 5 pieces on the rack. So that's an easy way to help clear racks if you had a miscount. Wishlist item 12, this works with the die correction module, and it adds the die defect code column to the die history and production history tabs on the die screen, the die copy screen, and the SO item screen. And you'll now be able to see your defect codes from these screens. And as a side note, if you're a multi-plant EPICS user, you'll now be able to filter your die correction screen and correction schedule by plant codes. Wishlist number 14 now displays the lifetime and last 12 months downstream scrap percentage on the customer part screen. So this is a new field that will show up on your parts screens and will give you a historical scrap percent that's calculated as the weight of all scrap pieces posted downstream from the press divided by the weight of all good pieces posted at the press. So this will help you better to see your scrap percent per part. Wish list number 16, when changes are made to sales orders or when reallocation occurs, allow the user to enter a comment that is saved with the order change log. This new config setting is enabled with allow SO change comments, and you can set this to yes, no, or make it required. So if you have it set to yes, then anytime a user changes a sales order, they'll have a pop-up now to add a comment about their change, and that will be stored in the change log. If you make this required, then they will have to enter a comment every time they make a change on a sales order. Wish list 17 enables normal right-clicking options for all relevant fields on the invoicing screen, which was never available as it was on other screens to be able to look up either customers, orders, or all of the other functions that you have from the right click being enabled. So now you can do that from the invoicing screen. Wish list 18, when combining items in the same production posting, allow the same rack number, rack out, to be easily assigned to every item. So this helps the user not have to remember what the previous rack number was that they were adding material to. If they're adding additional material to that rack, they can easily hit now a previous rack button, and EPICS will remember what rack they were just previously packing or adding material to. Wish list number 19, when importing a CSV file, automatically browse to the folder that was used for the last import. So EPICS will now remember if you have specific locations where you're placing your CSV files and you click the browse button, EPICS will remember that last location and open that folder. Wish list number 22, add change log to the discounts and surcharges table and to discount schedules. So now you'll be able to see any changes that are made to those. Wish list 24, display customers' credit limit and credit used values on the credit release screen. And these can be used with an ERP or accounting software if they're set to show invoices when they're paid and posted. Wish list number 25, when a shipping manifest is deleted, EPICS will now save the bill of lading number in the sales order change log. We have wish list items going back to 2018, and wish list number 7 from 2018 was improved handling for kits and assemblies, and we will see more about that in another presentation. Number 12 was prevent shipments to an outside processor for items that are on production hold. Previously, you had to have material on shipment hold to stop material from going to an outside processor, and now that is included as part of production hold so that you cannot send material to an outside processor if it is on production hold. Wish list number 30, for acknowledgments, manifests, invoices, and quotes, allow each customer to be configured to email separate PDF files for each document or combine multiple documents into a single PDF. Previously, it was configured one way or the other. All of your documents that were emailed would either be set to send individually or they would all be set to send as one email, one attachment per email. Now you can set your system setting to one setting and set individual customers to have a different configuration for how they want to receive their emailed documents. Wish list number 31, add config setting require manual tensile lot selection, and that will require the user to select a lot number when posting tensile tests. That will just show them no lot number when creating tensile tests so that they will manually have to select the lot number. And that will help prevent users from just allowing EPICS to leave the lot number that pops up automatically. So they'll have to consciously select which lot number they're creating tensiles for. Wish list number 41, display total pieces and weights on racks tab of the sales order screen, so you can easily see the total pieces and weight of material in racks. Wish list number 51, add the field chooser to the pool inventory ticket screen. And then we even go back further to 2017. We have wish list number 45 was to add a change log to the reserve screen. Wish list number 48 include price changes in the quote change log. And even back to 2013, which now allows stock to be pre-allocated to any order at any time prior to the normal fill from stock operation. Any stock ticket, not just kit and assembly components, which we will see more about pre-allocating in the kits and assemblies demonstration, but now you can pre-allocate material to any order. And what that does is allows you to basically assign stock bundles to an order in advance of somebody filling and pulling the material so that no other users or other orders can take that metal. Some additional features we had this past year are the capacity planning module, and there will be another demonstration on that during the virtual conference, which also includes improved calendars settings. You can set days and hours for entries and make entries plant-wide or specific to a department or machine. And you can also add makeup days for entries that make time available for existing jobs, but will not be considered when calculating ship dates to new items. You can allow multiple presses to be added in the die's standard data section with a checkbox to designate preferred presses. Config settings, we had G, allow active customers in a group, which will allow adding inactive customers to groups and saving groups with inactive customers in them. So you won't have to consciously go find any groups that had customers if you're making them inactive. They'll be okay if they're left there. GSO entry one-time ship to is now configurable, and you can turn that off to not allow your users to enter a one-time ship to address at order entry. And those are just some of the highlights of new features, and you can always see the full revisions list on our website to see all of the new features and improvements and enhancements.